What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I'm at the theater about to go head in and check out Venom: The Last Dance. Quick point of reference, I think the first Venom film is an alright film. It's nothing that special. I really don't understand why some people love this film, but it's great that they do. I hold no ill will toward them, of course. I'm glad that they find a lot more enjoyment in it than I do. The second Venom film, Let There Be Carnage, is probably my favorite of the Sony Spider-Man universe movies. I just thought it was a lot of fun. Again, not a great film, but again, a fun film, and that's really all that matters. So going into this, I really haven't been reading. I think I read like the early reactions that seem to be saying it's the best of the three. I know the RT scores like at a 36, 37%, which is insane, but you know, kind of in par with the franchise. So as long as it's dumb fun, I'm going to be in for it, and I'll probably come out enjoying it to a certain degree. It's crazy to think that this is going to be like probably the second best comic book movie of the year. I mean, all it has to do is be less controversial than Joker 2 and not as Sony as Madam Web, and we're going to be onto something. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go run in and check it out and give you all my thoughts in just a couple hours. Peace out. Alrighty, so just got back from watching Venom: The Last Dance. The movie ended a couple hours ago, and I kind of had to work through some thoughts because when the movie first ended, I was still kind of leaning positive on the film. And honestly, by the time I finish this review, I might be back at it because I keep going back and forth on if I like the movie or not. But as of now, I'm going to say I was kind of mostly underwhelmed by the film. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty fun. There's some, starting off with the positives, I guess, because I do try to stay positive. It's just the kind of person I am, especially when it comes to my passions. I will say there is plenty of humor that actually lands, some that don't, but a lot of jokes that do land. And I feel like they just do a better job. Like, it's very MCU-esque at times, but I feel like it kind of sticks the landing, you could say, better than a lot of those, especially newer entries in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I did find myself laughing pretty frequently. Tom Hardy as Eddie and Venom, again, it's just an absolute perfect combination. The two characters have wonderful chemistry with one another. I think Tom Hardy also does Venom's voiceover, if I'm not mistaken. So you have it's really cool hearing Tom Hardy's voice not sound at all like Tom Hardy. So yeah, I just really enjoyed that dynamic. I think they have such a fun camaraderie that almost plays like the Odd Couple at times, but in the best of ways. I did enjoy some of the action. I don't think the action is as good as Let There Be Carnage. I would say it's probably on par with the first Venom, more or less. There were some moments, like there's a scene, and I don't really want to give away any spoilers, where there's kind of a big like monster showdown with these two or three creatures, and then there's like a whole bunch of other, I'm just going to leave it at creatures for now, that are fighting against him. And it's really fun, very entertaining sequence. But there were some moments where it's like in the dark, and you're going to know exactly this scene or this section of the film when you see it. It's in the third act. And it was just hard at times to really make out what was going on. So that was kind of a big letdown, but at the same time, the action that I could see, the character designs and all that, I thought were really cool. And going off of that, I do kind of feel like I have to point out that, once again, this is a movie that really, it's going to ride or die on how well you enjoy dumb fun. Like, very similar to Godzilla x Kong, a movie that I'm not the biggest fan of, but a lot of people enjoyed it. I think this is in that very same vein of, if you can just really turn your brain off and have some dumb fun and not really worry about the really non-existent coherent script, because there just really isn't one, and just have fun with the camaraderie between Eddie and Venom, enjoy some of the action set pieces, some of the humor, then you'll definitely enjoy this movie. I think if you go in with the right mindset. For me, I am a sucker for big dumb fun movies. I mean, I did enjoy the first two Venoms to a certain degree. I'm a big Transformers fan. So in the right context and kind of knowing what I'm going in for, one would think I'd be able to enjoy this movie a lot more. But this kind of leads me more into the negatives that I'm going to discuss here. And just a quick point of reference, there will be some spoilers. I'm not going to go into super spoilery detail, but whenever I start to talk about spoilers, I'll mark them accordingly so y'all know, and then take them off, and you can unmute the video and continue on with this conversation. But I do want to say, starting off, that I think this is a personification of some of the worst tendencies of other Sony Spider-Man universe films, whatever these are called. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lot better than Morbius, it's a lot better than Madam Web. It's, I'd say maybe on par with, maybe a little worse than the first Venom, but kind of close enough. But it does kind of follow in line with some of the problems that those films have, where you're introducing a character like Venom in the first one, and we're all like, okay, eventually he's going to run into Spider-Man because it just feels natural. Then you get into Let There Be Carnage. He's fighting Carnage. It's a lot of fun. It's my favorite of the trilogy, and I can say that now that I've seen the new one for sure. And so we're like, well, surely in the third film, he's going to fight Spider-Man, especially if you've seen the post-credit scene of Let There Be Carnage. Like, there's a very blatant reference to Spider-Man. Then you get into this film, and it just kind of feels like, what was the point of the trilogy? And you never want to do that. You never want to complete a character's arc, but do it in a way to where you look back on it and go, what was the point? I mean, that's a big reason why Joker 2 didn't do as well, and I think that's a big reason why there's going to be a certain amount of people. And I do think this movie will probably be a lot more well-received than Joker 2 as a whole, but at the same time, you are going to have, I feel like, quite a big subsection of fans that are not going to like what they do with this character. And this is where I'm going to get into some spoiler territory real quick. So just mute the video, fast forward the video, and when you see the spoiler symbol taken off, you're going to know that I'm done talking spoilers. So, going on to spoilers. This movie, I feel like I gotta say, it is called The Last Dance for a reason, because at the end of the film, Venom the symbiote he disconnects from Eddie Brock and sacrifices himself because it's the only way to stop these other symbiotes that are being sent from Knoll to get out of this prison that he's in, or whatever. It's the only way to, really stop this symbiote invasion, basically. So, he basically lets these symbiotes take him out, they destroy the codex or whatever, so Knoll can't find him. And so yeah, Venom dies. And Eddie Brock, he wakes up in this hospital bed and he's told, you can just go about your life. You gave your all, or almost gave your all, protecting our nation and the world. So, military general or whatever. And he's like, just don't say a word about this. You're free to go. So he's walking down New York City. He's thinking about the events that happened in the first two Venom films. And I will say, it was pretty emotional going back and reliving those moments. You really do care about this character, which is probably the best thing I can say about the Sony Venom trilogy, is that unlike Madam Web, Morbius, probably Craven as well, you actually care about this character the most out of any of those that I just mentioned. So it is nice to kind of see his progression and his arc throughout this trilogy, and then when obviously he's without Venom, he realizes everything that he's missed. So it definitely is on a somber note, but at the same time, I'm also like, we just had a Venom trilogy, and he never actually met Spider-Man. And to me, that's a bummer, because this is kind of the first real introduction of Venom. A lot of people are wanting to see Tom Holland and Tom Hardy go head-to-head. I know I would have personally really enjoyed that, and maybe there's some way they can work it around, multiverse, whatever, to where it would really work. But the thing is, I feel like the way that they've made Venom in this trilogy is, especially when you watch this movie, he's kind of gone from anti-hero to a straight-up hero. Like, I think at one point, they make like a joke about flying or something, and Tom Hardy, or Eddie Brock, goes, why did I have to pick a hero that couldn't fly? Or why do I have to be a superhero that can't fly or something? So, like, they're very clearly heroes in this movie. Like, yeah, they'll still kill people and all, but it's, like, really bad people. There's not as many jokes about Venom wanting to, like, bite off random people's heads and whatnot. And I say all that to say, it's really hard to, I think, logically find a good story element for him to fight Tom Holland's Peter Parker that would make sense, because you would think he'd be like, oh, I'm going to team up with Spider-Man, and that has happened a few times. Like, Venom's not always been a bad guy, but there's always been this anti-hero edge to him, you could say, and I feel like here it's just lacking to the point where I feel like it would have been really, really hard to have those two meet each other in a way that would actually make sense and service the character journey that both of them are going on. But that said, I would have liked more of a connection, and obviously y'all have heard the reports about this tying in heavily to Spider-Man. Supposedly the film's called King in Black. We don't really know. It doesn't. I mean, Knoll is in this movie for like maybe a minute total. Andy Serkis does a great job with the motion capture performance. And they've said he's going to continue on. So I'm sure if not Spider-Man 4, he's going to be in this down the road. But I really expected more from Knoll, like, at some point. Like, if he had killed Venom the symbiote directly rather than one of his symbiote henchmen, you could say, I think it would have been a lot better and more satisfying. Because it's like, oh shoot, this dude means business. So when we see him in Spider-Man 4 or whatever's down the line at Marvel or Sony for that matter, you would have had him established as this high-level threat, and the Avengers, other Spider-Man, whoever's taking him out, you'd have raised the stakes that much more. So I kind of missed that element, but yeah, I mean, visually, I thought he looked fine. We don't really see him in the face except like for the very end. And then you obviously have the post-credit scene where he's like, I'm going to destroy this world. But I'm also thinking to myself, what world? Like, we don't even know. Are you talking the MCU? Are you talking about the Sony universe? Like, it's just very unclear. And the way that they go about with the codex and the monster or whatever that's hunting them can only see when it's can only find the codex when it's Venom and Eddie, and they only have a codex because Eddie died in the first film technically. Like, none of this is really explained well at all. And you know, at the end of the day, it's one of those movies to where it's a entertaining watch once. I don't really see myself like watching this movie again outside of like maybe doing a Venom ranking, or if I'm rewatching all the Sony Spider-Man movies or something for a YouTube video. It's just not a movie that I feel like I would really sit down and put on the entire film. There might be clips that I would watch, scenes that I might enjoy, but it's just not a very rewatchable film to me. I would definitely again say I'd put it above Morbius and Madam Web, but I definitely would not say it's as good as the second Venom. And the more I think about it, I'm not even sure that I'd put it above the first Venom. It's a movie that has fun moments, but it's also very forgettable, and it's just seems pretty dry near the end. Like, it did, I kind of felt something in that third act where, you know, sacrifices are made, you could say. But as for where it stands now, I think I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 10. I was thinking about a 5, and honestly, there were moments where I was even thinking about a 6. But I gotta be real with you guys. The more I think about it, the more this movie and this trilogy just kind of felt pointless. Because I'm like, what's the point? You tease Spider-Man in the second movie, it doesn't pay off. I feel like we never really see Venom and Eddie do anything that we really wanted to see them do, you know? We never saw them go up against Null. I don't even think Venom actually, like, there's like a 30-second fight scene in the beginning. But outside of that, I don't even think, like, actually we see Venom fight in a fight scene. So yeah, just pretty disappointing film. Not terrible, but it's also not very good, and it could have definitely been a lot better. But I'm sure I could be in the minority in this. I might be in the majority on this. I've seen reviews and reactions kind of all over the place. So y'all let me know in the comments down below what you all think. And if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And I will catch you all later. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you liked what you've seen here and you want to see more, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, and check out my other videos in the link in the description down below. And I will see you all later.